Hi, this is Bob Scully, and welcome to another edition of The World Show, Entrepreneurs, the Dobson Series. A great Canadian and North American entrepreneur, Jerry Schwartz, once told us on this show, if you can't sell, then you're not an entrepreneur. But if you can, you're almost sure to make it. And boy, is that ever true of our guest this week. Somebody who can sell not because he can throw a fastball or pull a fast one, but because he can walk a mile in your shoes and sit in your seat and think like you while he's talking to you. One of the great psychologists and entrepreneurs, Michel Bond of BMI Canada. Here he is. Michel Bond, the word plumbing is used in so many other areas. You go see your heart surgeon, he tells you about your plumbing.
Yeah.
And Obama's trying to cut the budget and he has to worry about the plumbing in the government and so on. We forget how important the real thing is, and so we're going to get to that in a few minutes. You don't forget when it's 3 a.m. and your toilet's blocked, but apart from that, you never think about it, but it is essential to everything we do.
Absolutely.
But we want to talk about your entrepreneurial story because they often begin with a quirk. And yes. you flunked in college by this much, right? I mean, this is what got you started.
I wasn't going to use the word flunk, but yeah, I was studying computer science at the university, and at the end of the year, I ended up with an average of 59.6, and you needed 60% to pass. So I went to see the person in charge of our department, and I sat down with her, and I tried to plead my case, and she told me she liked me a lot, and she said that we're sure that you're very smart and you can do other things and you may want to redirect your career, but I wasn't going to stay in computer science. She didn't want me there anymore.
And so you were heartbroken. You walked out of there and you thought your life had ended. And
yeah, I was heartbroken, but at the same time, university for me was I didn't have a passion there. There wasn't something that was burning inside of me that said I have to write the best code in the world or you know be the best programmer in the world. It wasn't that. It was just that all of a sudden there wasn't a passion about going to school, because I realized when I went to university that it's a lot of work, it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of competition, and you got to be on the ball and you've got to be focused on what you're doing. So.
But you were very ready to enter the workplace. That's what's interesting. You hit the ground running. In other words, you had sort of ended your schooling in a way, mentally, maybe unconsciously.
Yeah.
And you got into the field that you're into today. How did that happen?
First, you've got to rewind a bit, because when I finished school, it was May or June that we finished school, and I went to see the director of the school and everything else. But after that, I spent the whole summer working at a summer job, and at the time I was a volleyball player. I still am a very big volleyball enthusiast, and so we had this great project. We traveled to 3 countries. We went to, in September of that year, we went to England, we went to Saudi Arabia, and we went to Egypt to play against club teams, and we even played against 2 national teams. Wow. On the tour. So it was, and that was something that made me, I was really, really intense and really, really passionate about that part. When I got back from the tours, that's when my balloon deflated, and that's when I went to, I started looking for a job, and it was really quite unusual. I opened up the newspaper, looked at the wanted, and I saw this company was looking for somebody to work in the office and answer the phone and do stuff, and work in the warehouse a bit. Went there, talked to one of the 2 partners in the business, and he looked at me, we talked a bit, and then he switched it. I was speaking French, he switched it into English.
To check you out.
Checked me out, and then he says, okay, you start Monday.
And that's the same company you're still with, and you're now a co-owner of,
yeah.
And that you built up to a great extent.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the business, because as I was mentioning at the outset, we all need this. Right now we're surrounded by wires and pipes, right, in the walls, and we don't think about it. Is it a very tough business?
Oh, boy, I don't think I could give you a real hard answer on that, because I've never been in any other business. You know, it's not like I'm floating around. This is the only business. It's a competitive business, but I really truly feel that in any business, if you're good, you'll do well. So when I consider our business to be a top performer, a good company to deal with. So.
And quality, there's a range of quality. As I read a lot of the research, there's plumbing and there's plumbing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you've had to make decisions over the years to go for quality.
Yeah, well, it's we have this saying between the two of us, because what happened in our business is that I was an employee for about 12 years, and I became a partner. I became a partner because I worked like as if I owned the place, so I wanted to own a piece of the place. And so there's two owners, and there's me and my partner Mark. And yeah, I wanted ownership in the business, so it was important for me so that we could progress.
And oddly enough, you flunked the computer science,
Yeah.
but one of your main achievements and innovations and contributions to the business is you've developed a computer program.
Oh yeah.
Over 28 years, and you keep perfecting it.
Yeah.
It's an asset of the, you could sell that probably.
Yeah, I've often thought that would be a real nice software to sell. Absolutely, absolutely. For businesses like us that are master distributors and importers, oh yeah, we've got some.
And why are you import basically from the third world only and sell it? You sell in Ohio, you sell...
Whoa, third world.
Yeah, I shouldn't say that.
I don't think the Chinese...
Yeah, that term is gone now.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you import, let's say, from the non-Western countries.
Yeah.
And where most of the stuff is made then.
Yes, yeah. And that's a story in itself, because when we were... There are a lot of hubs, and businesses go in waves. And at one point we were riding a really strong wave. We were importing from a major U.S. manufacturer of copper fittings, and that company and us were doing a lot of business. We went from doubling our sales one year to doubling it the next year, and to doubling it 3 years in a row. We doubled our sales, and we were doing really well. Until one day the vice president of sales, international sales, comes to visit us, and he says, oh, actually he didn't say to me, he said to my partner, he said, listen to this, we've got a plan. So he said, this is the plan. I become the president of the company, okay? You, the owner of the company, become the vice president, and we take this business and we move it to Toronto, and therefore we'll be able to distribute right across Canada from the Toronto location. So my partner looked right back at him and he said, you are who and you will what? And we are moving where?
They were muscling in.
Absolutely.
Because they had become essential to you.
Oh, they became essential, and I truly believe that they thought that, imagine these poor backward people here in Montreal, how they're doing, and imagine if we took it over and we could really take this to another level. And we just simply said thank you, but you're invited to leave the offices, and the deal was done.
And that was you paid a price for that.
Oh yeah, I mean this supplier was over 90% of all of our imports were done through this supplier. Actually, in retrospect, we learned a lot of valuable lessons, and that put all your eggs in one basket type of lesson. That was one of the lessons, because now we don't import from one person, we import from many people. And the other thing is that we tried a bit to get other suppliers from the U.S., but we always had this feeling that if we did something and we got successful, somehow life changes, and there's a new vice president that comes in, and he's pointing in another direction, and all of a sudden this company that's doing really well is going in another direction until they figure things out. So we didn't want to deal with that.
So it's a better market to sell to than to buy from, is what you seem to be saying.
Yeah, yeah, it's a...
Because you do sell a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. We well, sell a lot. We sell 25–30% of our business goes into the U.S.
And hence the big depot in Ohio, I think,
yes.
near
Yeah.
Cleveland.
Yeah, yeah.
But you deal a lot then, I won't say the third world, with the Chinese.
Yeah.
You're over there a lot.
Yeah.
And I was reading in the research an interesting thing that because the Chinese don't like to say no,
Yes.
it's not in their vocabulary.
Yeah.
You can make a mistake. You think you're getting something,
Yeah.
but the way they say no is in what they deliver.
Yeah.
So let's talk. What does that mean?
Well, for instance, let's say I were to buy this glass in China, and it's $1. We'll just use a round number. But I went over there and I negotiated with the Chinese and negotiated them hard, and I want to buy that glass for 90 cents. Well, the chances are, and our experience is, that you would end up having a price of 90 cents, being very happy with your price of 90 cents, but when you get your glass, it's not the same. It's a little bit lighter, it might have some little indents in the bottom, and they might do things that are benign, that you won't have any issues with. But they might just do something to it to make it a little bit cheaper, that when you put it down, it breaks. And then you have people that cut their hands on it or stuff like that.
So, and all because?
All because they have this issue. They absolutely don't want to walk away from an order. So they can't say no. Well, let me qualify that. Over the years, the younger generation is becoming more savvy to markets, and they know about their markets a little bit better. But the older generations, they just wanted to grab anything they could.
So
as far as business.
it's the need to grab business. I thought it was an old code of courtesy that no was bad form.
It is that also, but they are so hungry to do business. They are so hungry to be rich and to have and to be able to have fancy cars and nice apartments and things like that. They have a fabulous hunger in China for that. It's amazing.
And are you starting to see, because we keep hearing about that, but I mean, if you're not there to see it, you can't be sure that they're rising, like you say, their rising needs for cars, housing, and so on, is causing a pressure on their production process and their prices. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, and also there's price fixing. I mean, they've eliminated so many competitors, and now there are only 2 or 3 people in China, and they sit together. I shouldn't say this, but they sit together and they discuss on where the next price increase is going.
And there's no recourse for that.
And
you wouldn't even know.
You wouldn't even know, and I still think they go to a karaoke bar somewhere, they sing a few tunes, and it's done. You have an 8% increase coming up in June, and that's it. Everybody has a 8% increase.
So they're hard in their own way. I mean, they may be very courteous, but they're hard-nosed.
Oh yeah.
Another thing that struck me about your business, again, which is we should explain. These are fittings.
Yes.
Sometimes of a major size, of an industrial size.
Yes.
Therefore, very important to industry and so on.
Yeah.
And heavy and hard to transport.
Yeah.
You have to pay everything cash down in full in advance before it even leaves China, let's say.
It's pay it. Most of the stuff has sometimes a little delay from the port, but most of the stuff, when it's at the port, you pay for it. So our business is not like brain surgery. We source out the material. We have we've set our inventory levels at the right levels. That's not that complicated. It's history. But what's complicated about it is you pay for it in advance. So now you've paid for it. And
all of it.
All of it.
Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah.
No consignment, nothing.
No.
Wow.
No, and then you wait 30, 35 days for it to get to you. And now you receive these goods that you've already paid for, and you put them in inventory.
No returns, obviously, because you paid.
You know what? If you establish a long-term relationship with people, they will work with you, and they will get to
They might take something back or trade it or whatever.
Yeah. Or you might scrap it, and and then they'll ship you something else.
And I would assume, as I hear the description of that,
Yep.
one unhappy person in there must be the banker.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a banker, obviously you're
No,
entirely
you need a banker. Well, unless you're independently wealthy, and I think if you were independently wealthy, this may not be the business for you. You could do something else with those mountains of money. So what we have is a situation where cash flow is extremely important, and how to manage the cash flow, and every bit of profit made in the company is reinvested into the company.
And because a banker will go by, for instance, receivables, but he doesn't have to assume that all the production has been paid in full before you even start selling.
Yeah.
That's what would make them nervous. Do they hold you to a higher standard?
They hold us to the same standards as our customers, which is the wrong standard. Our customers are plumbing wholesalers, air conditioning wholesalers, industrial wholesalers, and their standards are 75% of receivables and 50% of inventory. I may get those two mixed up, but
75% of receivables is current.
There you go. Not too bad. So that is the standard that the wholesalers have. Well, when you look at, and what the problem is with us is that because we carry such large inventories, they cap us. So we have to find some type of way of financing ourselves over the cap. So we finance ourselves with reinvested profits, and also we find other ways of investing.
But it would seem to me at some point you'd want to be rid of the bankers in a business like that, reinvest profit until you have enough to go with, and then bye-bye banker. No? Because
No, theoretically, yes, but the bankers are always there as the elastic too, and you need situations. For instance, a certain product category starts to boom all of a sudden, and instead of having I don't know $500,000 worth of inventory, you have to pump that up to $2 million worth of inventory. Whoa.
That's a lot of money, a lot of cash.